Hey everybody, welcome to Vacuum Wars. This week I've been testing a new robot vacuum that I've received a lot of requests to review. It's the recently launched WYZE robot vacuum. As always, I put it through a bunch of tests to see how it performs and how well it stacks up against the competition. So links in the description and let's get started. WYZE is a company that got its start with a smart home camera, with the core selling point being its affordability over the competition. They recently have expanded into a wider range of products, including this robot vacuum, apparently with the same underlying model of affordability for the consumer. And price is a big part of this story. As of today, when I looked at the current prices, the WYZE robot was the cheapest LiDAR smart navigation robot vacuum I saw before shipping, and it's significantly cheaper than its direct competition, which has the potential to shake up the mid-level robot vacuum market quite a bit, which is a good thing. Starting off with the basics, the WYZE robot vacuum is a smart robot vacuum, meaning that among other things, it makes a map of your house and navigates around the floor plan very efficiently in more or less straight lines as opposed to randomly. It's also a LiDAR robot, meaning that it accomplishes this mapping primarily by the use of a spinning invisible laser, which I think is the most accurate mapping system for robot vacuums. And in the various navigation tests I did, it was incredibly good, with nearly 100% coverage of both the small and large rooms in better than average times. It mapped the whole studio on the first run, which is typical for LiDAR robots, and it was better than average with recognizing its surroundings and navigating around table legs and similar obstacles. It has all the app features that you would expect to see in higher-end robots, like no-go lines, where you draw lines or boxes on the app to keep the robot from going places that you don't want it to go, something I consider a must-have in my house where I have a lot of cords and things that a robot could get stuck on. It has area selection, where you can tell it to clean only certain rooms or areas at a time. You can schedule cleanings with options to choose which power setting you want during certain schedules and which rooms. As far as the app and navigational features, it seemed indistinguishable from robots twice its price. I really found nothing to nitpick with that aspect of the robot. For the purpose of this review, I'm going to compare the WYZE robot vacuum to the Roborock S4, because they're really similar robots in a lot of ways, except for the price. On the power tests, where I measure suction and airflow, I got 17.5 CFM of airflow on high power, 16 on standard power, and 14 on low. That's pretty similar to the S4 and to the other Roborocks, some of which are more than double the price of the WYZE. I also found it had a bit more suction than the S4, and really more suction than most premium robots, which is reflected in the original specs of each vacuum too. In the crevice pickup test, the WYZE and the S4 did about the same, picking up debris from the 1/8 inch crevice only, which is decent for robot vacuums. On the carpet deep clean test, where I embed sand into medium pile carpet and weigh the bends before and after a 5-minute run, its score was 72, which is a touch lower than the S4, but on average it wasn't much different than even the top of the line Roborocks. In terms of its most basic function, that is picking up debris off of the surface of hard floors and carpet, I give it high marks. Its main brush and side brush worked well together without too much scattering of debris on hard floors. It was able to pick up large debris cleanly, and its carpet pickup was as good with both fine debris and bigger stuff. It was pretty quiet, about the same as the S4 at 70 or so decibels on max power. It has what looks like an identical dustbin design as the Roborock, which is good because it's a good design and larger than average. Both the WYZE and the S4 have pretty beefy quad-core processors in them, which makes them both pretty smart, and they're both robot vacuums only, not vacuum mop combos. Though the WYZE does look like it could accept a mop pad at some point, which may or may not be a part of WYZE's future plans. Moving on to the differences and the negative stuff, the brush roller, which even though it looks similar to the Roborocks, it wasn't as good at resisting hair tangles, so it should be cleaned every few runs, and especially if you have longer hair on your floors, which is a fairly easy thing to do. It doesn't have as big of a battery as the Roborocks either, but WYZE claims it can get 110 minutes on standard power, which we saw earlier was 16 CFM, and that is a pretty darn good power to battery life ratio. And like many smart robots these days, battery life isn't that big of a deal, since it will automatically return to its base to recharge if it runs low on power, and then it will resume exactly where it left off on the map. One big difference is the new company factor. Usually I make a bigger deal about this, but I feel a little more comfortable with WYZE because even though this is their first robot vacuum, they do already have an infrastructure for customer support and returns and that kind of thing, which is the main thing that a lot of fly-by-night companies lack when releasing a new product. I normally read a lot of reviews before I do my review, but in this case, because it's so new and there aren't many reviews out there yet, there could be issues I didn't see or experience that might be deal breakers with the WYZE, but from what I can tell, WYZE seems to have accomplished their goal of building a quality LiDAR smart robot at a much reduced cost to the consumer, and I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes one of the best-selling robot vacuums around. Links in the description, and be sure to subscribe to Vacuum Wars to keep up with all the latest robot vacuums and more. Thanks for watching.